Happy late New Year's, everyone. This is Mason11, and I'm coming to you with my predictions for the 2018 playoffs. And before I begin, I just want to say the reason why that I'm doing this very late with the playoffs to begin tomorrow, and as opposed to me releasing this on like Monday per se. I've been very sick as of late. I was very sick earlier this week, and I've just never had the time. I was just focusing on recovering, but I'm feeling a lot better now, and I'm ready to record and bring you guys what I believe is going to transpire this playoffs. Alright, so to start with the AFC, we have the New England Patriots once again coming out on top as the number 1 seed at a record of 13-3. We have the Pittsburgh Steelers also finishing 13-3. We had the Jacksonville Jaguars finishing at 10-6. That was a heck of a surprise, and this is them returning to the playoffs for the first time since 2007, which is very nice to see. It's good. Speaking of which, not only do we have the Jags, we have a bunch of other teams that ended their droughts, which was pretty awesome to see, if you ask me. Moving on, we got the fourth seed being the Kansas City Chiefs after a 5-0 start. I don't even know what happened. They definitely had the weirdest season this year. 5-0 to 6-6 to 10-6. The good news is for the Kansas City Chiefs, though, they got a lot of momentum because they're now playing a lot better. They look like what they were in the start of the season, and hopefully that can carry on for the rest of the playoffs. For the wild cards, we have the Tennessee Titans at 9-7, ending their 9-year playoff drought. And how about this? The Buffalo Bills making it for the first time since 1999, ending the longest drought of all of the droughts. And not to mention, I predicted this Bills team to go 4-12 this year, so this was a hell of a surprise. And to the Bills fans that saw my prediction videos, I'm sorry I insulted your team. You guys did way better than I expected, and I will take you guys more seriously next year. Moving on to the NFC, we got the Philadelphia Eagles at 13-3. Great year by Carson Wentz. Unfortunately, he tore his ACL. And we got the Minnesota Vikings also at 13-3. This is, I gotta say, a heck of a lot of 13-3 teams this year. We got 4 of them. Anyway, third seed, Los Angeles Rams 11-5. Another big surprise team. I predicted them to, I think, go 5-11 when I saw many other videos having as one of the bottom feeders of the draft, being like a top 3 pick. I did think they were underrated, but not all the way up to a fantastic season per se. And they're in the playoffs for the first time since 2004 when they barely made it at 8-8. So it's good to see them looking like an actual strong team again. Moving on, we got the 4th seed, the New Orleans Saints in 11-5. Also a little bit of a surprising year. The defense finally came together and put that with Drew Brees. You got yourself an 11-5 team. For the first wild card, we got the Carolina Panthers. Big rebound from last year's. I don't even know how to describe that, but anyway, great rebound. They're now at 11-5. They're back in the playoffs where they should be, and we got the 6th seed at the Atlanta Falcons, 10-6, just squeaking in this week 17 after defeating the Panthers and also the Seahawks losing. Alright. So now we move on to the playoffs bracket, and the first game is going to be the Tennessee Titans going to the Kansas City Chiefs. Not really much to say about this one. The Kansas City Chiefs are coming in hot, and while I did predict the Titans to go to the playoffs, they still kind of let me down a little bit. I thought Marcus Mariota and DeMarco Murray would have a fantastic year. Murray, he's not even playing tomorrow, but he struggles during the season. I thought Derrick Henry actually was better, to be honest. Offensive line took a step back. So, although they're in the playoffs, I still think they underachieved. And I know that the Kansas City Chiefs struggled in the midst of the season, but they don't. Alex Smith looks a lot better. The defense, after struggling a lot in the middle of the season, I think rebounded, and I just don't trust the Titans enough to think that they're gonna pull off an upset. Although a couple years ago they did win in Arrowhead when they went 2-14, so I'm not saying it's impossible. I just don't see it happening. I'm sorry, Titans fans, but for this first game of the wild card, I will be picking the Kansas City Chiefs. All right, then we move on to the Atlanta Falcons going to the Los Angeles Rams. This is going to be an offensive shootout. Matt Ryan and Jared Goff have been absolute beasts this season. Both teams, Rams actually first in points for this year. Atlanta Falcons, I don't remember off the top of my head, but I believe are up there somewhere. And so this is gonna be an entertaining one. I can't say it any other way than that. Moving on to what I think is gonna happen. The Atlanta Falcons. We saw them go all the way to the Super Bowl this year. Last year, excuse me, and then coming so close to the Super Bowl. So they have the experience factor. Matt Ryan's been in the playoffs many single times. This Rams team, on the other hand, is just kind of naive. Um, I mean, Todd Gurley definitely looked like the MVP this year. Jared Goff did look like, or did have a massive rebound from a struggling rookie campaign. Um, but other than that, I just feel like this team kind of overachieved a little bit, and I really hate to say that. I don't know. Something's with the Rams that makes me think that they're not going to last this playoffs. I just think I just think they're going to be sort of hit by a buzzsaw with the Falcons here. And um, I just kind of trust Atlanta's D more, and I feel like the Falcons are going to find a way as they know how to win, and I just don't trust the Rams. So it may surprise. I've seen many people picking the Rams as one, but I think I'm going to go with the road victory for the Falcons, and this might surprise some people, but I just trust the Falcons a lot more. They just know what to do, and I think they're going to be able to do it in the situation that they come in. And I don't think that. And the Rams could definitely make a roaring comeback and perhaps even pull off a successful comeback like what the Patriots did. But I just feel like they're going to be ready for it this time. They're not going to be, and they're just not going to be caught sleeping per se. I think Dan Quinn is going to make the right decisions. So for this wildcard game, I'll be going with the 6 seed Atlanta Falcons coming up with a victory. And we move on to the Bills going to the Jaguars. This one is probably the easiest to pick. I really hate to admit it, but for the Bills, I don't really think they're a playoff team, even though they ended their whole drought. They just barely squeaked in. They had a lot of problems with like their offense. LaShawn McCoy, I don't even know if he's playing. While the Jacksonville defense, meanwhile, was definitely, in my opinion, one of, if not the best this season. And they're going in with a struggling offense, and I just feel like the Jaguars are gonna kind of win this one easily. All right. Not to mention Bills definitely had a great year. I'm not trying to say they're bad. I just don't really think that. In my opinion, they're the worst team in this playoffs for this year, and I just think the Jaguars are just gonna smack them. I'm sorry, but for this one, I will be picking the Jaguars in a big win. Finally, we got the Panthers going to the Saints. This is gonna be the one I'm gonna be looking forward to the most. An NFC South Division game. Both teams tied for first in the NFC South at 11-5. Saints winning the tiebreaker due to a sweep. And given that the Saints kind of sweep the Panthers, that tells me that they know how to win, and they're gonna know what to do. I think Drew Brees with his experience, is gonna be able to outplay Cam Newton. I also foresee Cam Newton making a few mistakes. What else? I just feel like the Saints are gonna outscore the Panthers. I don't think the Panthers will do bad on offense, but I just think the Saints are gonna pull it out. So for this wild card game, I'll be picking the Saints over the Panthers. All right, moving on to the divisional rounds. Our first one is going to be the first divisional game will be at the Eagles, and in this case, I have the Falcons moving on, beating the Rams and heading to Philadelphia. All right. So the Eagles had a fantastic season for 2017, but they lost Carson Wentz. Carson Wentz was the factor that led them to this unbelievable season. He had an MVP caliber year, and now he's gone. Now, don't get me wrong, Nick Foles has played a little. He even filled in for the Rams and did come out with a win, but Week 17 against the Cowboys just did not look good at all. Nick Foles, 4 for 11, if I'm not mistaken. I just can't trust them anymore. I know the Falcons are a 6 seed, so it feels really weird moving them on to the NFC Championship. But I feel like the Eagles, because they don't have Carson Wentz anymore, they're not the team that they were this whole season, and that whole injury is just gonna crush it. Ugh. And I know that I'm a Cowboys fan, so I might sound really biased by saying this, but I just really trust the Falcons a lot more. Um, and for those that think I'm biased, I'll tell you I picked the Cowboys to be one and done last year, and I think I'm going to be doing the same thing with the Eagles for this season, or for this playoffs, excuse me. Um, so I guess that's all I've kind of have to cover. I just feel like Nick Foles is going to be shut down too much, and Matt Ryan is going to be able to put up more points on this D. So, oh, it feels so bad. It feels so weird to put a 6 seed in the NFC Championship, but it's happened many times. Even have a couple winners like 2010 Packers, 2005 Steelers. And it's a very bold prediction, I know, but it's what I believe. I do think they're going to beat the Rams, and then I do think they're going to beat the Eagles on the road. So, uh, I will be picking the Falcons to be in the NFC Championship. All right. Next up, we got the Chiefs going to the Patriots. It's a rematch from the first game of this regular season where the Chiefs absolutely stomped on the Patriots. However, I feel like the Patriots are gonna. I just feel like the momentum changed throughout as the whole season kind of transpired. The Patriots still look like the best team in the AFC. Chiefs, after making that impressive win, they garnered just too many questions. Um, I just feel like Tom Brady is just going to be Tom Brady for the playoffs, and he's going to come out with yet another win. Chiefs, definitely had a great season, but I just don't think they're going to be good enough to win another one in Foxborough. So I will be picking the Patriots to move on to the AFC Championship. All right. Next up, we got the Jaguars going to the Steelers. Definitely a good rematch from the 2007 playoffs. I believe the Jaguars won that one, but after a decade, we got brand new, different teams. So the history factor is kind of a little out of it, but keep in mind in the regular season, I believe the Jaguars did beat the Steelers. So who knows? I'm not saying it's impossible. I feel like the Jaguars D is going to know how to shut down guys like Ben Roethlisberger and an injury-prone Antonio Brown. They could even stop Le'Veon Bell, but I don't know. I don't think I can trust the Jaguars to go so far in the playoffs this year. The offense has just too many questions. I just cannot foresee it. I know defense wins championships, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's gonna happen. The Jaguars sort of remind me of the Texans from last year, although I feel like Blake Bortles is definitely much better than Brock Osweiler. So just to put it in a little comparison, that's kind of how I see the Jaguars this year. They're basically last year's Texans with a better quarterback. However, I don't think it's going to be enough to stop the Steelers, who are going to be hungry for revenge from the regular season and for the playoffs 10 years ago. So I will be picking the Steelers the Steelers being the Jaguars and moving on to the AFC Championship, where we will have actually a rematch from last playoffs. The Steelers going to the Patriots. Finally, for the NFC divisionals, we have the Saints going to the Vikings, which is going to be great to see. Although I wish these teams would play in the NFC Championships just because of 2009. That's one of my all-time favorite playoff games. But anyway, so they're going to be meeting a little early. The Vikings, like the Jaguars, also had one of the best Ds, but they also have unlike Jacksonville, have a much better offense. And as for the Saints, they're a team that would know how. Drew Brees is a guy that would know how to beat a team like the Vikings, but I just think the Vikings D is going to be too much, and the Vikings are going to continue on their very impressive season that they've had this year. The Vikings also did beat the Saints week 1 this season, and I just feel like I trust them a lot more. So for NFC divisionals, I'll be picking the Vikings, moving on and hosting the Falcons. Alright, first for the championship round will be the AFC Championship. In this case, I have the Steelers going to the Patriots. And if the Steelers going to the Patriots does happen to be the AFC Championship, that is going to be an awesome game. I think it's going to be way better than last year. The Steelers are much better of a team than last year. The offense looked phenomenal. Not to say that they were bad last year at all. They were also phenomenal last year, but I just think it's being an even better game this year. And I feel like if there's one team that could knock out the Patriots in the playoffs, it would be the Pittsburgh Steelers. However, I don't think it's going to happen. I think Tom Brady yet again is going to come out on top and be the kings of the AFC. Is going to lead his offense to another high-scoring game. Even though the Pittsburgh defense is way better than years past, I just don't think the secondary is going to be able to completely shut out New England. So, with that being said, I think the Patriots once again are going to advance to the Super Bowl. I have lost count of how many Super Bowls Tom Brady has made in his career, but it's an unprecedented whatever. And he'd be going for his 6th championship, which, oh my God, if he is able to pull that off, I don't know what to say about that. He's already got the most rings with 5, and given that he's going to try and maybe even extend it a little more, that would be absolutely unbelievable. Whether you hate him or not, you gotta respect it. Anyway, before I go off, not to go off topic, we move on to the NFC Championship, which would be the Falcons going to the Vikings. And this one, if this were to be the case, wouldn't be a hard one to pick. I do think the Vikings have the defense to stop Atlanta. In the past 2 games, within this playoff set, the Falcons haven't had a team play like the Vikings. I just think there's too many questions for the Rams and Eagles, but the Vikings I'm very, very sold on. I love their defense. I even love Case Keenum, as weird as that sounds, after his other years in like Los Angeles and Houston. I think this is going to be the year for the Minnesota Vikings for the NFC. There's not really much else to say. I just think the Falcons, after having a little bit of a Cinderella run for this playoffs, I just don't think they're going to be able to come out to the Super Bowl and be another 6 seed that goes to the Super Bowl. And if they're able to pull it off, that would be absolutely amazing, and it'd be another sick Super Bowl rematch. But I just don't think it's going to happen. So for this NFC Championship, I will be picking the Minnesota Vikings, advancing to the Super Bowl and hosting the Patriots in Minnesota, believe it or not. So this is going to actually have a lot of history to it, because the Super Bowl this year is going to be in Minnesota and their home team is going to be there. And if the Vikings are able to win a Super Bowl at their home, oh my gosh, that would be absolutely amazing. So anyway, for the Super Bowl, I have the Patriots and the Vikings. Definitely one of the best offensive teams in the AFC and one of the best defensive teams in the NFC. One of the best offensive teams in the NFL for the AFC and one of the best defensive teams for the NFL in the NFC. It kind of reminds me about the 2013 Super Bowl between the Denver Broncos and the Seattle Seahawks. In which case the Seattle Seahawks absolutely stomped on the Denver Broncos, although I don't think that would happen. I don't think the Vikings would do that to the Patriots if that would be the case. If this were the case to be the Super Bowl, I think Tom Brady is going to... I just can't see Tom Brady getting blown out at all. I think he's definitely going to put up a fight. He's going to definitely score a lot of points. He's going to definitely try to go back-to-back for the first time since 2003 and 2004. But I am going with... My gut is telling me the Minnesota Vikings, just because they're on their homestand and just because they have the defense, and we all know defense wins championships. My gut is going toward the Minnesota Vikings, and I think they are going to win their first Super Bowl in history. Their first Super Bowl in team history. Now, they have won NFC championships, but never a Super Bowl, and I think they're going to win their very first one. So, with that being said, for the 2017-2018 champions, I think it is going to be the Minnesota Vikings. And I think for the Super Bowl MVP, it's going to probably be someone on defense, maybe Harrison Smith. If I had to pick, I'm just kind of talking out loud. That's who I would probably guess the most. And I think if Vikings would beat the Patriots in Super Bowl, he's going to be a major piece. So I think that's all I got to say. I'm going to wrap it up from here. I hope you liked my predictions, and if you enjoyed this video, I hope you subscribe and to more of my content. I think I'm going to end here. So best of luck to all the teams in this playoffs, and I am out.